New Hamburg, Ontario is a little town about an hour from here by car. I have found many delightful treasures there over the years. Now I want to introduce you to a new one, Susan Salmons. Welcome.
Hi, Myra.
We have to be reminded that you were one of us for 10 years.
I was?
I mean, in a very involved way on our prayer lines.
I was, yes. I did the prayer lines here at Huntley Street for probably about 4 or 5 years, traveling down from New Hamburg. And then I went on the home diverter at home.
That means you take those calls
At home.
At home. Well, thank you for that. I think they're working on you to get you back.
They are.
You've got other things going on.
Yeah.
But we need to backtrack because I'm looking at a very thorough and involved medical report that goes back 3 years. When was that major surgery? March 20th?
It was March 20th, 2010.
What was going on in your body?
I really didn't know at the time. In January, I started to feel ill, and I had always been healthy, and I lost my appetite. I lost a lot of weight. I lost my strength. I teach piano lessons, so I could barely do that anymore, and I was looking after my mother, so I just got sicker and sicker, and I went to the doctor. She said, it's a virus. So I went home, and they said, you'll get better. I got worse, and so I went back again, and I said, something is really wrong with me, and she said it was pneumonia, and it wasn't that either. So finally, they took blood work, and they came up with this word, which I had never heard before, endocarditis, which is a blood bacteria.
You were given 3 days to live.
At first, they gave me 6 months, and I went to the hospital for 2 weeks, and they gave me antibiotics and thought that would help. And I thought I could go home at the end of the 2 weeks. I was feeling a little better, but they did another throat scan of my heart. They went down the throat and scanned my heart, and it was about the 4th time I had that done, and said to me, the bacteria is attacking all the valves in your heart. I had had a heart murmur, a slight one, through my life, but now it was attacking that valve, plus another one, and you only have, 4 chambers of your heart, so it was circling my heart. Oh. So that's why they said you only have a few days to go, and this was on a Friday afternoon. So they said I would have to have immediate surgery instead of going home. So there I was. I thought, well, I either have surgery or I don't live. Those were my chances.
I want to know what your heart, your emotional heart, your heart of faith was saying, how you were responding with that prognosis.
Yes, that day we had either the choice of that day or the next morning for surgery. So I said maybe a fresh doctor would be good the next morning because it was 6.5 hours of surgery. So we went for the next morning, and so I had the night to think, will this be my last night on earth, really? And so that night I searched my heart, and I thought, is there anyone I need to forgive? Like, you search your heart, because I didn't know if I was going to live or die. And so I had perfect peace. I just thought I had just had the peace of the Lord. So I listened to some music in my headphones that night, and I went to sleep, and I just had perfect peace about the whole thing. Either God would take me, I would go with him, or I would stay here.
You have 2 beautiful daughters here, I think both in their 30s.
Yes.
And were you able to see family in those hours?
My one daughter was with me. She had just come back from Belize, and my other daughter was in Florida because I had planned to go to Florida with them. But then this happened, so it's a good thing I wasn't in Florida when this all happened to me. But yeah, so it was a shock to them, but we have faith, and yes, here I am.
You're able to leave it with God.
Well, left it with the Lord.
You talked about your doctor prior to the surgery not looking at you.
No.
He didn't expect you to make it.
No, he didn't. No, my family doctor either, cardiologist or family doctor. After they told me, they're surprised that I'm still here.
He calls you his miracle lady.
He does.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Now, I would think after something this life-threatening, despite the fact that I read in the report, doing exceedingly well, no fatigue following surgery.
No.
You sure capitalized on that.
I did.
You really did get a reboot.
I did.
And a fresh vision.
Yes. Well, actually, I feel more like the age of my daughters, to tell you the truth right now, yeah.
And what are you doing?
So I have lots of energy.
What are you doing with all that energy?
Well, it took me about 5 or 6 weeks to recover, and then I just followed all the rules. I went and walked and did all my things and got better, and I got my energy back. And then in the fall of that same year, a door opened where I could go to Guatemala. So since then, I've been doing mission outreach in Guatemala.
Wow. We're going to take you to some pictures. Why Guatemala?
It's just an open door the Lord provided for me, and I stepped into it.
Okay. We're going to see your family first.
Okay.
Full extended family. We won't take time to break it all down.
Okay.
But this is part of your cheering section.
They are.
And let's go to Guatemala. I think the next picture
Yes.
is...
This is a medical mission we go on. So we go out on a boat, and those are some of the Guatemalan people with me. The lady right behind my head is Olga and her husband Eric with a hat on. So they are my contacts now in Guatemala. They're a pastor and his wife. And we go out on a boat to a deserted little island that children only come to by boat. And so we do medical outreach and ministry to these children.
Wow. Do you have medical background?
No.
Susan?
Well, I did work at a nursing home for a while.
You
so
did? I read that.
I did, yeah. These are the children that we did outreach to, and you can see the balloons, and we do puppet shows and all kinds of things to the children. This is another mission I work with, and this is in San Antonio, a small, tiny little community. We drive out there about an hour from where I stay and do outreach with the children there every Sunday afternoon.
San Antonio, Guatemala.
Guatemala, yes, Guatemala.
You look like a young girl in that picture.
Yeah, thank you.
This suits you.
This is a house, and that is my friend Carol. Carol has been my contact over the years that I've been going there. Ever since the very first time I went, I met Carol, and there we are painting a house, she and I together. It's the pastor's house. So every time I go down, I seem to do some painting.
How's your Spanish? I'm looking at
It's
this.
coming, yeah.
What does that say?
I'm not for sure.
Jesus?
Jesus? Jesus, yeah. I can't really read those words.
Okay.
Welcome, I think, yes.
You're working on
yes,
it, though?
Yeah, I am working on it. So there I am giving my testimony to the church group, and there I am. I took that keyboard along down last time with me to teach piano lessons to the Guatemalans, and all the young people from the Spanish-English school now come and we do piano lessons.
5 visits in 3 years so far.
I was down twice this year, yeah, for a month this summer, yeah.
It's very interesting that Operation Jabez
Yes.
is the ministry that was birthed by the woman
Carol.
who passed away in
Yes.
October. But the mission continues.
It does.
And I just want us to look at that prayer of Jabez again, because I'm sure God enlarged Carol's territory. He has certainly answered this prayer in your life. You have gone a long way from teaching piano in your living room. You are a global missionary.
Yes. Yeah, I love the chance to do outreach. It's my heart now, and I'm hoping to go down longer term, eventually, to Guatemala.
I was delighted to learn that your daughter, Christy, who is here, went to Turkana, Kenya with Chester Van Heusen, our favorite missionary farmer.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering when these girls are going to be going with Mom maybe to Guatemala.
I have been asking them many times, and my grandchildren, and I've almost got them convinced that they will come with me next time. I'm working on my 18-year-old granddaughter, so she's pretty keen now in coming with me. We just have to get Mom's approval to let her come. Yes.
Another just an interesting sidebar here is that you were divorced just a year before this trauma in your life and near death. And in the time since, your husband has had a near fatal heart issue and asked you for prayer.
He did. Yes, yes. He called me up from the hospital bed, said he was in the same shape I was in, and asked if I would pray with him, and I did. And it frees you. When you can pray for someone else that has maybe caused you some trauma in your life, it frees you up. So that's what happened for me.
Wow, so many life lessons from your example. And a favorite scripture, and no wonder, from Ecclesiastes.
Yes.
I think we're just going to put it right on the screen.
Okay.
This has a lot of meaning for you, Susan.
It does, yes, yeah. Yeah, I quote the scripture when I go down to Guatemala, and I get up and I teach and I preach and give my testimony that there's a time for everything in your life. We need to be prepared for it, and there's a time to be born and a time to die. And it's all in God's hands. Your whole life is in God's hands. And so that's what's happened with me. Like when I was laying in surgery, having this done, my life was totally in God's hands. He was in charge of whether I live or whether I die. He miraculously healed me and gave me the energy, says there was more work for me to do here. So that's why I'm doing it. I'm stepping out to whatever he has for me.
You know, we began this half hour with the Barracks prayer, Jennifer Barracks prayer, and talking about the peace at Christmas. We celebrate the peace and joy we can find in you. Those are nice sounding words, but when it's been tested in the face of death, and you were able to have that perfect peace. Wow. Talk about a litmus test. Proof that this is the gift Jesus came to give. Peace that passes understanding.
That's right.
Not as the world gives, Jesus said, do I give unto you. His peace.
Yes, and it really puts you to the test when you're faced with death. You know, we always have a short time to live. Maybe we never know when our next breath will leave us. But when you're laying on an operating table thinking this may be it, you really search your heart. Am I ready to meet the Lord? And so it's very important that you are ready to meet the Lord.
Well, I can't direct you to Susan today on the prayer line, but I know there are lots of wonderful people who can help you settle this issue. Maybe you don't have peace with God. And if you don't have peace with God, you can't enjoy the peace of God that passes understanding. There is only one path to that. His name is Jesus. It's what Christmas is all about. Could we help you today? Maybe it's time. Mental assent won't do it. Believing in the historic Christ who came and lived and died. I even believed that Jesus died for my sins. I had all those ducks in a row, but I did not know him. Do you know him? Let us help you today. Why not call our prayer line? I'll tell you what, it'll be the best Christmas you've ever had. Susan, thank you. And God bless you and yours this Christmas.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.